Okay. I'm sorry. I have good people looking out for me. I was about to make a very large faux pas. Tonight, prior to our official invocation and pledge, which is actually being led by a student, and he is a student at Ms. Damari Dillard's school, Dillard Rodriguez's school. I want to share with everyone, unfortunately, we had a very special member of our team, Melissa Rivera, pass away unexpectedly after a short illness. She was at Greenwood Lakes Middle School, and this is what the school provided for us to share with you all this evening about Melissa. Melissa was a wonderful friend, a proud and excellent social studies teacher for over 20 years in Naples and Seminole County, Florida. She loved her family, friends, and students with all of her heart. Her loss is unimaginable to us. Melissa lived a life of purpose as a teacher, and her lessons and influence will be felt for generations. She created a fun and fair environment for learning, which made her a huge success and built amazing relationships with students. Yes, she taught the kids content, but she also taught them character. She taught them to be good human beings, to respect each other, and to respect themselves. She was direct and matter-of-fact, but in a very kind and caring way. Students would come back years later to ask her to go to their weddings or to let her know that they got into medical school. She loved her students. She was a colleague, a mentor, and most importantly, a friend. She will be missed, but she will always be loved. Melissa was a kind, beautiful person. She is and will always be a part of all of our hearts. I'd like to ask you all to just have a moment of silence in memory of Melissa. Thank you all. Okay, thank you for saving me. Now I'd like to ask the principal of Sterling Park Elementary, Damari Dillard Rodriguez, to come forward, and she's going to introduce to us tonight the student who will be leading us in the invocation and pledge.
Good evening. I'm Damari Rodriguez Dillard, principal of Sterling Park Elementary. Our school is located in Castleberry. We have about 850 students enrolled, and we refer to our school family as the hidden treasure of Seminole County Public Schools. We pride ourselves in our unique ability to teach our students the importance of great manners, strong citizenship, and since we are the Eagles, we honor our students for being safe, organized, accountable, and respectful. The student I have the distinct pleasure to introduce is all of this. He is driven, and he's compassionate too. It is my pleasure to introduce our fourth grade student, Dyson Beeman.
Hello everyone, my name is Dyson Beeman. I attend Sterling Park Elementary and I am in the 4th grade. Something special about me is that I like to read, play baseball, and I have a little brother named Dylan. I think he is the best brother you could ever have. He's funny, he's smart, and I love to play with him. At my school, being a good citizen means being kind to everyone. It also means that you help other students and your teachers. An example of being a good citizen is students helping each other to learn and helping their teachers set up their rooms. I try to be a good citizen, so that is why I was selected as a student leader by my 3rd grade teacher, Miss Kennedy. It felt good to be rewarded by my teacher, but being a good citizen means being kind and doing helpful things, even if there aren't any awards. Would you please stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dyson. He's so cute.
I I know.
He's just darling. I wonder whose
Family.
kid he is. He's a great kid. Tonight we have with us several members of the community that we'd like to thank for spending their evening with us. Nina Sandberg is a parent from Indian Trails Middle School and Rainbow Elementary. Melissa Pugh is here from Seminole County Council PTA. Thank you for joining us. Also a Seminole County Council PTA is Polly DeLucia. Thank you for being here. We appreciate you all so much for what you do. And from our Business Advisory Board, Matt Weber, you're here this evening. Thank you so much for being here. All right. School board members, do we have any agenda modifications or superintendent?
I have just one, Madam Chair. The addendum for good cause is marked on our electronic agenda by a green flag named addendum item.
Okay, school board members, any modifications, any items for removal, clarifying questions? Mrs. Sanchez?
No, ma'am.
Mrs. Allman?
No modifications, thank you.
Dr. Calderon?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair.
I have just two for clarifying questions. 4E on page 77 and 4O on page 134. And then we'll have a motion to approve the agenda outline.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, Dr. Griffin, we have some people to welcome.
Yes, we do. Let's head down.
Dr. Griffin and board members, I have the pleasure of introducing a new assistant principal for Seminole County Public Schools, and that is Danielle Alchin. Danielle will be the new assistant principal at Spring Lake Elementary School. Danielle has worked in education for 14 years in Central Florida in both elementary and middle schools and in both Title I and non-Title I schools. Her experiences included academic and behavior support for teachers and students. She received her bachelor's degree from Greensboro College and a master's from UCF and her doctorate from UCF in 2013. And I heard a rumor that she was in Dr. Griffin's cohort group. So congratulations, Danielle. With her tonight is her husband, David Alchin. If you all would stand, her daughter, Adriana Alchin, her son, Marshall Alchin, her father, Judge John Kest, and mother, Judge Sally Kest. Congratulations to you and thank you. With her also is her new principal, Mrs. Kuniak from Spring Lake Elementary. Also, please welcome tonight Terry Pfister. Terry will be a new assistant principal at Wicklow Elementary School. Terry has been a part of Lake County School District for 7+ years. In that time, she served as a 3rd and 4th grade classroom teacher, a curriculum resource teacher, and an instructional dean. She received her bachelor's degree in elementary education from the University of Central Florida and her master's degree in educational leadership from Florida State University. And she is currently a doctoral candidate in FSU's Educational Leadership and Policy Department. She expects to graduate with her doctorate in May of 2018. With her tonight is Michelle Ortiz, a school administration manager from Wicklow Elementary School. Congratulations, Terry.
Good evening, Dr. Griffin and board members. I have two new project managers to welcome to Seminole County Public Schools. They've actually been here probably 2 to 3 weeks before we actually opened school. And they've been so busy that we haven't had a chance to get them down here to introduce you all, but both were instrumental in actually make the successful completion of our projects for this past summer. First, I have Joan Van Sickle, who's going to be project manager with facility planning and construction. Joan has a master's degree in public administration from the University of Central Florida and is a second-generation general contractor for the state of Florida. She has managed government capital projects in excess of 20 years with both Brevard County government and most recently with Orange County Public Schools. Joan's husband is an electrical engineer and presently working on a new rocket with NASA. We look forward to utilizing her knowledge and love of construction as she serves the families of Seminole County. I'd like to introduce her husband, John Van Sickle, who is here this evening. The second is a familiar face to the district. Paul Tweed is going to be a project manager with facilities planning as well. Paul attended the University of Central Florida, receiving both a Bachelor's of Arts in Communication and a Master of Arts in Communications. He began his career in education as a 7th grade computer applications teacher at Childs Middle School. He later became the Educational Technology Facilitator, ETF, for Idlewild Elementary School. Paul spent the last 3 years with Information Services Technology Manager before joining the facilities team. We look forward to Paul's continued success with Seminole Schools in the facilities department. Thank you. I'm sorry, I forgot to, his wife Meredith is here. Meredith, please stand. And his in-laws, Steve Lawrence and Kathy Lawrence, are here as well today, and I think the children are here too.
Dr. Griffin, members of the board, I am pleased to introduce Ralph Caravello. Ralph will be our new coordinator of risk management workers' compensation. He is a 20-year Navy veteran. He retired as a Chief Petty Officer in 2006. His prior position was Risk and Safety Manager for Osceola County Board of Government from 2014 to 17. He holds 2 master's degrees, one in Occupational Safety Management from Embry-Riddle, and Human Resources Management from Troy University.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, board. I wanted to have the pleasure and privilege to introduce the new middle school executive director. And I wanted to just say a few words about Demetria. I had the honor of hiring Demetria as a brand new teacher to Seminole County when I was a relatively brand new principal. And I've just been so proud to watch her shine over the years. She's been a dean, an assistant principal, currently the principal at Crooms, and now to see her take over the ranks of middle school executive director, I cannot say enough about her. But I'll go ahead and read the script since they gave me one. Demetria Faison has worked in Seminole County Public Schools for 17 years, working as an integrated science teacher and dean of students at Millennium Middle School prior to becoming an assistant principal and principal at Crooms Academy of Information Technology. After earning both her bachelor's and master's degree in science education from Florida State University, Mrs. Faison completed her educational specialist degree in ed leadership from Nova Southeastern University. In attendance with Demetria tonight are family members, her husband, Andre Faison. Please stand up, Andre. Also an SCPS employee, John Mary Edwards. Sister Elaine Florence, brother Michael Hayes, and sister-in-law Earlene Hayes. And I thought I saw, where is Mia here? Mia, stand up, Mia. There you go. I know you're very proud. I hired Mia at the same time I hired Demetria. So, and Demetria, sincerely, I wish you the very, very best, and I'm just so proud of you. I know I speak on behalf of many of us.
Ta-da! All right, you ready?
Thank you for being here, yes.
Of course.
Focus on student achievement.
Good evening, school board members. Good evening, Dr. Griffin. It is my pleasure at this point to introduce to you Dr. Michelle Pisani. Dr. Pisani is our coordinator of elementary reading and curriculum. This board has made an investment in iReady, and so because of your investment, we want to make sure that we are honoring that and making sure that we are monitoring our students to make sure we get at least 1 year's growth in 1 year's time. And so at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Pisani, who's going to provide you with an overview of what to expect with iReady as we move forward for our first full year of implementation.
Thank you, Sean. I'm going to give you, like he said, an overview this evening of iReady and some of the things that the students see from their perspective, as well as the teachers and parents. So just to kind of review, iReady is being used K through 5 for both reading and math. All students are utilizing it, as well as in grades 6 and 7, it's being used with intensive reading and math students. It is an adaptive program in that now we're just finishing up with our diagnostics. This past Friday, 1st through 7th grade had their window closed, and kindergarten is going to start their diagnostic mid-September. We decided to give them the gift of time before having them take their diagnostic. But as they go through, it is an adaptive program in that when they have a question, if they do well on it, the program will bump them up and give them a more difficult question, and then it proceeds to do that. As they get things wrong, it takes them down until they level off and get an overall level for the students. In addition to that, it is blended in that there is not just online instruction available, but there is also a series of lesson plans that are available for the teachers to pull small groups. So it has both components, which we're very excited about. From a student perspective, if you were to go and take a look as students are taking their diagnostic, you'd probably notice that in the labs there would be a lot of headsets and earbuds. Because there is an auditory component that is available to students for kindergarten through 3rd grade, some of the questions in reading are read to them, and then likewise in K through 5 for the math. The questions that are asked are not simple multiple choice, all of them, and that's what this slide is meant to demonstrate. Here on the left-hand side, you have a passage. It's a 3rd grade reading comprehension passage. And then on the right-hand side, there's the questions being asked. In this case, they have to go through and highlight in a paragraph what words would be a clue as to what the word hibernation means. So different and varied tasks that the students are asked to do. On the next slide, it shows an example of a kindergarten question that might be asked. And in this case, it's 5 minus 3, but they've provided some online tools and counters for students to go through and manipulate if they so desire. And in addition to that, we've encouraged teachers to have students bring old-fashioned pencil and paper so that they have that to use as well. So there are multiple ways that they can go through and figure their problems. Once students have taken the diagnostic, which iReady has estimated to be about 45 minutes, and that's on the high side because as students level up, they are probably going to have more questions that they're asked. And the recommendation that for those students, especially in the lower grade levels, it can be chunked so that they're not sitting there for 45 minutes at one time. It could be a series of 15 minutes or 20-minute sessions. After they've taken that diagnostic, they'll have a series of lessons based on how they've done, but there's also a series of information and reports that are available to teachers. And I wanted to take the time to highlight 2 of those that we've really asked our teachers to take a look at this point in the year. And this report is a student profile report, and it is from one of our students. I just removed the name and some of the identifying information. But it's very comprehensive in the information that it provides for that student. So in that section A that's up at the top where it talks about overall performance, it's the scale score overall for reading when combining all the different questions that student completed on their diagnostic. And here it says that the student's on level being an early 3rd grader, which is right where we would expect and want them to see at this time in the year. Then in section B, it breaks it down into more detail by the different domains in reading. And in this case, the students tested out in phonological awareness, phonics, and high-frequency words, which are those foundations which we would hope that they would come to us in 3rd grade having under their belt. That section B continues on to the next slide. And for this particular student, vocabulary is a definite strength because they're already in late third grade. The area that they struggle with the most is comprehension in the area of literature, and then informational tests, they're early third grade as well. So that section B is very, visual, and that you have those bar graphs and numbers, but then in section C, it provides a short narrative summary of 3 to 5 sentences explaining what that number means and what that placement would mean for them. As part of the student profile report, there's also this part here, section D, where it really breaks down what the student can do and gives some specifics, which is great for informing instruction as well as meeting with parents and talking about what some of those strengths of the students are that we can build on to help them to progress forward. And then on the right-hand side, it has the next steps for instruction. What are some of the questions and strategies that we can use with the students to take them to that next level? And then down there at the bottom in section E, there are some PDFs that the teachers can print off, which are lesson plans targeted to the needs of the students. And in this circumstance, there's one on understanding characters and story elements because that literature was the area that this particular student needed the most help with. The second report that I wanted to highlight for you is the instructional grouping profile. And in going out and seeing some of the Power View sessions, when coaches saw this, they were very excited about it. And that after the teacher has tested her whole class, they receive a bar graph like the one that's shown here, and it groups the students so that teachers have some help in deciding what students are like for small group instruction to help them really target things. And this is from that same class that I had highlighted from that student before. And she was in that profile 4 with a couple of other students. And when I clicked on profile 4, it opened up 19 other lessons which meet the needs of that particular group of students. And I have a little PDF of one of those highlighted here, where it was once again on literary elements, and it provided some graphic organizers and questions and even suggested a book that they might use together in a small group to target their needs. The next couple of slides were given to us by one of our schools. I have to give credit to Winter Springs Elementary. Dr. Irwin and Ms. Mandel provided these, and this shows how they work together with their teams to really kind of take a look at the data as it comes in and use it for grade level discussions on how to work with students and help them progress. So over there on the left-hand side, all those little purple cards signify a different class that they have. And it's banded off with the blue, the pink, yellow, and so forth by the different levels, just like that profile report that was seen before. And so they take a look at kids at this point of the year and mark where they are. And then when the students take things again in January, those little tickets will start moving. It also helps them to see if there's like one student in a certain profile, if maybe they can, work in a small group with somebody in a different class if they have similar needs. And the next slide has a close-up of what they look like and the fact that they're ready for that second diagnostic to record and show progress in monitoring for them. The final slide that I have for you talks about some of the ways that parents can take a look at what their students are doing when they go through some of the online lessons. Up in the top right-hand corner, when the students log in, there's a button that says My Progress. And when that's clicked on, there will be a little graph as shown here, which shows how many lessons the students have passed. And then over on the right-hand side, it gives more information by domain on which types of questions or what skills have been tested. For instance, if you have sorts words by beginning sounds, it shows you that in this case in June, the student in this test got 90%. And it goes through so that parents have an idea of what types of skills they're working on at home. And in talking with iReady about it, this fall they're going to add the addition of having time on task as part of this. So that's something else that they're going to add on so that parents have a better understanding of how much time is being spent in addition to what types of lessons they're testing. So as Sean said before, we are very thankful for the investment you've made in this, and we're helping to support teachers as they go forth because we think it'll have a great impact with our students.
Dr. Calderon?
First of all, thank you very much. It's a wonderful program. I was not in the classroom at this time, knowing a lot of information on iReady. So I have a couple little questions. One, when they test out, do they get to move on to another level?
Yes, so there are some students that are on, working on lessons that are above, like in this instance, above third grade level with the example that was given, yes.
And so their parents can see that, not just at school or student-led conferences, or that they can actually pull it up at home and view that and see that they can do maybe an enrichment activity to go along with it, or are we not at that point yet?
I think at this point, because that student profile report that I showed you is so comprehensive, I would think that the best thing at this point would be to go over that information in a conference to really explain what it means, so that when they take a look at some of these other things, it makes sense as a full picture.
Perfect. And so they're in their portfolio, and when the parents come in, or guardian, they get a chance to look over the portfolio with the parent?
Yes.
And then it's taken 3 times a year?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for everything you guys
Sure.
are doing.
You bring up a good question about the portfolio, and I don't know if you were using it in the true sense of the third grade promotion piece or not.
Use it in every grade.
Well, but we have that third grade retention piece that has been talked about quite a bit. Will the data from this be able to be used as a component of showing proficiency for promotion?
It is one of the assessments that the state allows us to use for that purpose, yes.
That is great. So if a student is, I don't know if Mrs. Beeman is going to be happy with this question or not, so. Suppose a student had parents that wanted them to minimally participate in a statewide assessment, but they already are taking these 3 iReady components, and they show proficiency on the iReady. Would that be cause for promotion? I'm sorry.
Dr. Cody.
Would you like me to?
Well,
respond?
I don't. I want to have answer it. Whoever will keep me out of trouble. I know the question that I want to ask, but I don't know that I want the can of worms that may come with it. So,
Well, and because the case law suggests that there is not a minimal participation caveat to the statute, what is clear here in Seminole County is that the good cause exemptions, one of which the iReady alternative test would be considered, may be an opportunity for a student that does not have a score to still be promoted.
that's exactly what I wanted to know. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Anyone else have any other questions?
One more, sorry. For high-frequency words, or like when you were talking about hibernation, for students that maybe have a difficult time decoding the word, is there a link where they can actually hear the word and it's pronounced correctly?
I think it depends upon where and what that question is asking about, if it's comprehension or not. A lot of the questions do have that link where you're able to hear it, but the passages themselves, the students.
Right, if they're looking for
most
the
part.
clues for the word for story elements or something like that, it might be different. Okay, thank you.
Thank you all so much. We appreciate the update. All right, so I had a question on, or actually just ask for a clarification when we were going through the finance reports on page 77, 4E. The $7.8 million budget transfer from the the self-insurance fund. Dr. Kelly, if you could just remind everyone what that was. That was a large number, and you reminded me what it was that we had done that caused that.
It's part of a $10 million spend that was done, and our health insurance fund had built up fund balances, and as a commitment to the employees, we provided both a contribution to an HSA or an HRA in the amount of $250 and a cash payment to each employee in the district. And that all totaled about $10 million.
Madam Chair, I'd like to add, I think that savings, where it comes from, is that our benefits department has done a phenomenal job of making our employees aware they need to be consumers of health and be awareness. We did some trainings and we showed a lot of people how to use the app, and you really can look, if you have to receive a medical treatment or whatever, you can shop and find the best price possible at a place you want to be serviced. And then the second part of that is wellness. If people take care of themselves, we're self-insured. We're going to have a lower premium each year. So I think this is really the result of our awareness and people taking good care of themselves.
Appreciate that, Mr. Kelly. And then the other item that I had was on page 135 as a part of 4O, looking at the statewide assessment calendar and how much of it that we get a chance to say grace over versus how much the state has a chance to tell us what to do. And I particularly wanted to ask questions about 11th grade. When you look, I don't want to move ahead. Okay. The number of minutes of district assessments jumps up significantly for 11th grade, and I wondered if that could just be explained.
Okay, it is it's for the PSAT 11, which is being administered in October, as well as the SAT school day in March, and that's the minutes.
So it's not actually a district assessment, but it falls under that category because we are providing that to our students.
Absolutely.
All right. And so, Dr. Griffin, maybe you could even explain, because I know, Board, that's another financial commitment that we have made.
Yeah, I think families are going to be extremely appreciative when they realize the board has made that commitment. But all of our students from 9th grade through graduation will have the opportunity to take the PSAT and the SAT. And this board is paying for everything with the exception of the 10th grade PSAT, which is provided by the state for all districts.
Thank you. I know at some point in time someone's going to ask, well, what are you doing in 11th grade? So that will be our answer. Appreciate it. It's great. Thank you so much. Board members, any other questions?
Well, Chairman Locker, just an additional comment. I think it's really important if we look at the ROI as far as minutes spent on those assessments. Mm-hmm. I mean, the millions and millions of dollars that our students get in scholarships from that PSAT. We stand here at a school board meeting every year shaking the hands of students that I personally feel I'm not worthy when you hear that they have perfect scores and they're going into the military academies or some of the top Ivy League schools in the country. And for many of our families, for financially to help them by paying for that SAT, I think it's really opening the doors for all students in this county. We are treating them all with equity and excellence every day. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Right. Dr. Griffin, do we have any student discipline hearing dispositions?
Not for this meeting.
Okay. I have one item for public comment this evening, Dr. Calderon, if you wouldn't mind reading our public input.
Sure, I'd be happy to. The public input segment of the meeting is provided to allow the public to present specific matters to the school board for its consideration and referral to the superintendent and staff for inquiry and action, or address specific items on the agenda. The public input segment of the meeting is not open to presentations of campaign issues by political candidates or others, student disciplinary actions, pending employee disciplinary matters, or pending litigation. It is not the intent of the school board to deprive any person of his or her freedom of expression. It is, however, the intent of the school board to promote mutual respect, civility, and orderly conduct on the part of members of the public appearing before the school board. The school board expects positive communication and will not permit disruptive, volatile, hostile, or aggressive communications on the part of our speakers. All speakers are limited to 3 minutes and must clarify and identify the matter to be addressed on the speaker sign-up form. We appreciate our speakers who have taken the time to come see us this evening and are willing to make your views known or speak to issues before the school board for action. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Nina Sandberg is here this evening. If you would, you're welcome to come to the microphone, and we'll ask that you state your name and address for the record. And again, you'll have 3 minutes.
Nina Sandberg, Knollview Court, Oviedo. SCPS needs to have an actual textbook for every academic subject that it teaches to regular ed school children. SCPS needs to provide all students with home access to all the textbooks for their academic subjects. The curriculum for subjects such as math, history, science, and language arts needs to center around an actual textbook. SCPS may not teach entire academic subjects without textbooks. SCPS needs to put back into the curriculum all of the traditional language arts elementary school sets that it deleted when it went to Common Core and started doing nothing but teaching to the standardized test. SCPS already has a list of those skill sets, which I provided to SCPS at least 3 years in a row. Those skill sets include all forms of creative writing, all forms of English composition writing, the writing process, all forms of literature, drama, cursive writing, etc. I gave SCPS an extensive list of the skill sets that the district has not been teaching for at least 3 years now. SCPS needs to provide a full year of physical education in grades K through at least 11th grade with a full year curriculum in physical education. The actual PE curriculum needs to be a full year long and include all traditional non-contact team sports and individual sports. SCPS schools need to stop requiring politically correct mandatory electives such as renewable energy, which are being substituted instead of PE. Homework for middle school students needs to be limited to 1.5 hours per night. Homework for elementary school students needs to be limited to 1 hour per night. Schools should not be allowed to assign malicious busy work homework that keeps elementary school students up past 8 o'clock p.m. and keeps middle school students up past 9 o'clock p.m. and gives them no life whatsoever outside of school. Schools need to stop grading students maliciously. Malicious grading practices have been going on ever since the implementation of Common Core, and even excused absences are not being handled correctly with respect to grading. There are no opportunities for students who need extra help or who do not understand particular assignments to redo them or to have more time to do them without penalty. There are no opportunities for absent students to get caught up with what they missed. The district has not been accommodating individual student needs with regard to individual learning styles and individual needs. Things have been too rigid and too militant in that everyone is treated the same regardless of their individual needs.
Thank you very much for being here. Dr. Griffin, I'm assuming you have a staff member who can work with Mrs. Sandberg over her concerns?
Yes, we do. Dr. Blaze-Woodswell.
All right, thank you so much. We appreciate you being here. Is there anyone else here to speak before the board? I have no other public comment forms. Any new business or unfinished business, Dr. Griffin?
No, but we do have a new business item.
Okay.
My recommendation is that the School Board of Seminole County authorize staff to prepare a proposed resolution for consideration by the school board recommending that the Board of County Commissioners amend the Seminole County Impact Fee Ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
And a second, any discussion? So, as you all know, we've been talking about this also for about a year, and we've been working very closely with Seminole County government and making sure that we were following their ordinance relative to impact fees. Dr. Griffin and I and Joe Rinaldi in particular, I want to thank Joe. He's done an incredible amount of work in communicating with members of the Board of County Commissioners staff, with members of the public. We've had lots of different meetings with different stakeholder groups, and Joe has really championed all of that. And there you are. Thank you very much. At some point in time, he's going to start asking for hazard pay, I am sure. I would like to point out, I think all of you received a copy of the letter from the Greater Orlando Builders Association that is support. It is, they are not, well, yeah, they are not in opposition. Is that the same as being supportive? I guess. It's a splitting hairs maybe, but we're very grateful to have worked very well with them, and they are, to my understanding, going to be joining us at the Board of County Commissioners meeting in support of the figures that are being introduced here tonight. So any other questions, comments? Dr. Griffin, do you want to share anything else about this
No, but
process?
you need to give yourself some credit because you've pounded a lot of pavement trying to get this communicated, And there's one paragraph that I think is important because we work as a team and we try to work well with all organizations. But GOBA in particular, this personally affects each and every builder in Seminole County. I'm going to read just one paragraph that I think is important. Great schools are vital to the success of the home building industry and the children of our thousands of employees, such as GOBA advocates for and supports great schools. GOBA understands that excellent schools, such as those in Seminole County, require adequate funding sources. Although GOBA favors more broad-based funding sources and impact fees, and they had a conversation with us about that, and maintains its position that the methodology utilized in calculating impact fees must be equitable and consistent, this is the important part. Due to the cooperation, reasonableness, and professionalism exhibited by the school board, that was Ms. Lockhart representing all of you, and staff during the discussion process, GOBA does not oppose the proposed impact fee increases reflected in the attached rate schedule. So I think it's very, very important. It was an example of doing your homework and communicating and meeting with people that we're going to get this done, and for them to offer to come to the county commission meeting with us is just outstanding.
And they really were great to work with, and I think they were very glad to work with a school district that was reasonable. They kept using that word. You're being very reasonable, and they in turn were very reasonable. So we had a motion and a second discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. So what is the process from here then, Dr. Griffin? This gets forwarded on to the county commission?
Yes, and we'll eventually present a final resolution to you that we will bring to the county commission. They have a planning and zoning committee that has to take a look at everything, but we're in the process right now of working with staff, but hopefully by the end of October, we'll be before the county commission.
Chairman Lockhart, if I could just add to that, as we know, a lot of information is shared on social media, and perhaps not all of it is the facts. And so just as we had a very short budget meeting this evening, I think it's important for people to know that this has been in the works for a long, long time. Mr. Kelly shared this evening that the 1.5 mil, historically we were funded at a 2.0 at a state level, and even at the 1.5 mil, we are what I would consider a donor county. So we are giving to other districts of the millage that we're even collecting. And I know there's some people that are feeling that shame on the school board for displacing retirees on fixed income. This is for new building only. And the Greater Orlando Building Association is made up of the builders. And I know when I've talked to them, they've thanked the school board because it's a lot easier for them to sell homes in Seminole County because the number one comment they get from the nation, people look up information and they want to put their children in a quality public school. But we're at the point now from an operational standpoint to be able to sustain that excellence, as we heard through our budget this evening. We need to be able to adequately fund the facilities and to be able to support our phenomenal teachers that we have here. And it's very important, and it's heartening to know that other business leaders see it and they want to join in. So I think that's very important for us to know that we have collaborated and communicated to many different groups. And I know, Dr. Griffin, you're always welcome to speak to many constituency groups around the county, and I'd just like to offer it up again. I know our team always says yes to any question that's asked. So thank you for the entire team for helping support this.
That's a great point. There has been some miscommunication, I think, shared via social media, and we did ask Michael Lawrence and his staff to come up with some good visuals that could help maybe share some facts about what impact fees are and what they are not, and they've come up with actually, I think, a pretty good graphic. So as we get a little bit closer and do some more communication with the Board of County Commissioners, that may come in very useful. So thank you, Michael, and your team very much.
Ms. Lockhart, I'd like to just add, just so everybody understands, this is just one piece of the funding that we really need. And I think we will take GOBA up on their offer to do some serious lobbying to fund public education the way it should be funded. We're very, very grateful for this step, but there's a much bigger picture out there because this is just one slice of the pie.
Madam Chair, and I also feel the same way, and I think it's extremely important that not just our community, but we get every other community involved, all the other counties to address, along with teachers, parents, students, PTAs, everybody, to head up to Tallahassee and help us resolve our financial needs.
Do you have any more for a report, Dr. Griffin?
I do have an item for the report, but did you vote on the?
I think we did,
Yeah,
right?
okay,
It was
okay.
unanimous.
Okay, perfect.
You got
okay.
it?
Want to
You
make
got
sure.
us?
I
All right.
didn't mark it down. I must have been talking.
We voted and then we went back to talking again.
There we go. Okay.
We just kept talking.
Just double checking. I didn't cross my item off here. I wanted, board members, I wanted to ask Dr. Weissong and Mr. Godrow to come up. We're working on something really exciting with the Sanford Orlando Airport, and I want you just to have a 3-minute update. It won't be as entertaining as Mr. Carnes and Mr. Godrow's video for benefits, but I want you to. We're really excited about this, and this is another community effort.
Before you start, I want to make sure, and if the board needs to vote on this, we will, but at our next school board meeting, I think we need to show the video, the wellness video.
I want to
Are we
see
good
the
with that?
outtakes. I want to see the
All right.
outtakes.
So that'll be our focus on achievement at our next school board meeting.
Good idea.
Thank you for
Mr. Carnes
providing
and I will
that.
have to check with our agent, our legal team. I'm not sure.
You're not getting any money
There's things in
extra for
our
this.
contract that won't allow for that. But Dr. Griffin and board members, we're very excited about the opportunity that we're in planning stages with partnering with the Orlando Sanford International Airport and Seminole State College in setting up an aviation career day. And that name could change over the next couple of months as we finalize things, but that's kind of what we're calling it right now. We do know the date that's been secured is December 9th. And there's a lot of pieces to it, not only career opportunities, which I'm going to let Dr. Weissong talk about, but there's some other things that are going to be going on there about the excitement of generating information and interest in the airport and Seminole County Public Schools and Seminole State College. There will be food trucks and things like that, so families can come out. Of course, we're going to have our students coming out. Two of the things that I'm excited about is they are in the process of securing one of the original Tuskegee Airmen to be there, and the Berlin Airlift Candy Bomber. So not only on the career side of opportunities for our students, but the history and the education piece that will go along with our teachers being able to have students come out there and meet somebody in person that they actually talk about in the classes, I think is a unique piece. We will start the marketing and advertising after we secure some of the information. We've probably had 3 or 4 meetings now. We're meeting about once a week now to finalize it, and very happy with the support from Seminole State College and the airport and what they're doing, of course, and we have the student resources to be able to make it work. I'm going to let Dr. Weissong talk a little bit more about the career part of it.
Dr. Griffin and board members, this is indeed, I think, a great opportunity for our community. There's a potential for a lot of wins with this event. Diane Cruz and her team have done a really great job of kind of corralling all of the partners at the airport to say, here's an opportunity to show what you do to Seminole County students, both K-12 and college, and their families. So they're working to kind of secure final commitments from the various partners at the airport. Again, I think there'll be some federal agencies involved there with the operation of the airport, an opportunity for students to really see what goes into running an airport and all of the different careers through the Aviation Authority, but then also all of the really innovative businesses that have their home on the airport's property, both in terms of careers on the flight side and on the maintenance and technical side. There are just a lot of great businesses there that are going to have the opportunity to really showcase what they do. And then the planning on our side and Seminole State side is, as the airport secures those commitments from businesses, we'll identify kind of our closest fitting programs, and we'll allow those programs to showcase as well. And we'll probably target our advertising to students in grades 4 and up, and that'll be an opportunity for them to see some of the middle school magnets that touch on these areas, as well as our high school programs. And then, of course, as you're aware, as we prepare to expand the number of career pathways in the aviation industry, this is a great opportunity for us to demonstrate to the airport partners that our students and families are interested in these career pathways. So to that end, we'll also target some marketing efforts to seniors who may be staying in our community and looking for employment after high school and may not be aware of the different opportunities that are available with the airport partners. So again, a lot of details coming together in the next few weeks, but we think this is a great opportunity for 3 very important institutions to work together on a big event for the community.
We're going to ask Mrs. Cruz if she could have one of the Allegiant jets or one of the planes that are open for. We have many children who never on an airplane.
Right.
Just to get on and see it. And,
that'd be neat.
really fun.
Love it. Diane Cruz did an update at the Oviedo Winter Springs Chamber of Commerce recently and talked about this event and about the Candy Bomber, and shared a lot about the history of the airport, which we've had so many new people in Seminole County now who probably don't really know the history of the airport with its connection to the Navy and the incredible role that it played. So this will be a great opportunity to introduce the community to the airport that's been so much a part of it. It's funny, Diane told a story. She said people come and complain about the noise of the planes landing, and she said, I always say, you should have heard it back when I was a kid. She said, it's much quieter now. So it'll be a great time and a great opportunity. Dr. Griffin, you also have an update about tropical storm, Hurricane Irma.
Yes, I'd like to just fill the board on what's been taking place today. As soon as we get into this mode, all of you remember we had Eric Burris here from Channel 2, so he's my direct contact, and he's constantly telling me what we need to be careful of and what we need to watch. So over the course of today, of course, I've been in contact with Eric. Also had a conference call with the governor earlier this morning, Emergency Operations Center, and certainly the Sheriff's Department. And besides the physical size and speed of this storm, what we have to watch out for in Seminole County is they're going to be evacuating South Florida sooner rather than later, just because to move that number of people out of there will take days. It's not even a few hours, it's days. So we already have been asked to be ready to open 7 shelters, and I think we probably have a list of 20, but we have 7 that we'll be starting with. I'll tell you what they are, and everything could change, but this is where we are today. Lyman High School, Childs Middle School, Bentley Elementary School, Highlands Elementary School, Midway Elementary School, and Lake Mary High School. And a backup right now is Crystal Lake. And we always get asked the question about school closures, and there's 2 parts to that decision, and we don't take either of it lightly. First and foremost is safety for our students and our residents. And whenever there is a safety issue, of course, we close schools or end early, whatever it is that we have to do. But I think the bigger part for this storm is going to be all these families being evacuated from the south are going to need shelter space. Mm-hmm. So if we wind up having to start filling up shelters, let's say tomorrow night, or we could have to close school just to accommodate these families in need in the shelters.
When you name all the shelters, I remember that Lyman is a pet-friendly shelter.
Yes.
Can you kind of give us an idea what that looks like?
Yes, they're allowed to bring dogs and cats, and I believe there were a few lizards last time. But dogs and cats, they have cages for the animals in a separate section from where the people are staying. And also, I believe Highlands Elementary is the medical facility. And already, Ms. Gonzalez, my assistant, has received, that's a very concerned population because they have oxygen needs, they can't go without power. whatever. So I'm hoping tomorrow, I've called a meeting at 4 o'clock. Alan Harris will come up to the cabinet group that's available at 4 o'clock. We may get Eric on the phone just to see what we need to do. I'll probably get another update from Tallahassee of what's going on. But I would not be completely surprised if we didn't have to close school either later this week or early next week. We've already made a couple of small changes. All the varsity games, instead of Friday night, we just moved those to Thursday, again, student safety. And we canceled activities Friday evening and Saturday. We'll probably wind up, I'm working, I've coordinated all 6 superintendents, so we kind of do things together. We may together contact ACT. ACT is being given on Saturday. We may wind up canceling ACT on Saturday if necessary, and a few other things. But we'll probably come very close, at least the interior counties will make our decisions in unison. It's easier for residents, otherwise it gets very confusing as far as what's going on. So I think our number one concern right now is how many people are going to be in the shelters. And a reminder to families, I'll probably do a call out later tomorrow to remind families to get ready for this, because this could be a catastrophic storm. I can't recall hearing about a storm still in the ocean at 185 miles an hour. I don't know the speed of the last ones that came through, but this is potentially very, very damaging. I think most of you know my son lives in South Florida, and already he's in Palm Beach County. They are packing up and getting ready to come up to stay in Dad's house. But it's they have to get out in front of all that traffic and decide what they're going to do. So I'll communicate with all of you as I always do, and certainly to our families. But the call that I want to give to the families, and I'll explain it in very simple terms, is it may not just be the weather that closes our schools. It may be the need for other families to utilize our schools.
That's a great clarification. I think we've all been there where parents have said, well, it's not even raining here, or it wasn't that bad of a storm, and there's always that armchair quarterbacking, and we make the best decisions that we can. Dr. Calderon?
How is the determination made for what school districts host shelters for South Florida? Because I know during the last storm, we were chosen and we had to close so we could allow Brevard County to come over. Is a decision made from the state and they know what school districts have closed early before, or is there any rhyme or reason?
I had a call from Tallahassee today about shelters, asking me which ones and how many. But I think the Emergency Operations Center, especially if it's going to be a storm that's going up, let's say the East Coast, they'll look at the central districts. I think just about every large school district has buildings that are shelter safe. So they probably look at where the storm is going to be and where they need to evacuate and probably move the people inward from where it's going to be. So it's probably storm determinant.
Also, I have a question. Since this storm is so large and it's 216 miles wide, and of course, I think it's 160 miles wide, the state of Florida. My concern is, what is, for tropical force winds, when are we not allowed to send buses out? Because I think a lot of people think, oh, well, like you said, it's not raining, we don't have anything, but there's certain roads that we cannot go down, like in Geneva, if it's wet and rainy or they get stuck. And I think a lot of people don't realize that, along with the state of emergency, when we have to order it so early, because we have to lift all the tolls from the highway so people can get out of their areas.
Yeah, so when the winds hit 40 miles an hour, we definitely don't run them, but I'll tell you, in our district, usually at 30, we stop or come close to it, because
good to know.
You can't send the buses out because the wind can increase.
Right.
So at 30, since I've been superintendent, that's when we have stopped the buses. But a bigger part, the challenge we had, think back to 07, I guess it was, or 04, whenever it was, is the flooding in the streets for the buses.
Exactly.
And getting students to the bus stops and doing all of those things. So a lot of moving parts. We have a great relationship with Alan Harris and EOC. Having Captain Francis as a conduit, he keeps me posted the whole time. A few of you heard the governor today. We're over at Lawton Elementary when I went on the conference call. I have his cell phone number, and I'll tell you, we used it last time because when he calls a power company, it queues you up, and we were a little behind in the Sanford area. I don't know who that is, maybe Florida Power Light. Well, one call, and we did get service. So that he is available and very, very proactive with this type of thing.
One more point. Is there a way, if people want to stay informed, that they can register somewhere to receive information updates?
Yes, there are. I don't have them memorized, but there are two. Do you have them?
PrepareSeminole.org and AlertSeminole.org.
Repeat those one more time, Karen, because I think.
PrepareSeminole.org and alertseminole.org.
And I think we're all on those, and it's very, very good information.
Could you also, so I want to give our staff a lot of kudos on this. I think they're taking on extra responsibilities this hurricane season than what they have in the past. Can you share that different dynamic?
In the past, the school district has been very cooperative and assisted with the shelter runnings. And at the end of the day, because our people know their buildings, they're familiar with all the ins and outs, how to get the food and everything, we will basically be in charge and running the shelters in total cooperation with the Sheriff's Department. But that's how it really needs to be, because it winds up that way anyway. So I just tell the principals straight up, they're in charge of their school, they're in charge of the situation. We are there to help them. The Sheriff's Department and will certainly be there to help them. And any other medical needs that we need or whatever. In the past, when other organizations had great intentions, but they're not used to running these mega schools with all the different needs and the large variety of people that show up and don't know anything about the kitchens or how to get to the freezers, and I could go on and on and on. Our folks know all that and can do it.
Board member comments, updates. Mrs. Sanchez.
Right, I guess I'm first. Dr. Griffin, I just wanted to see, as we've been visiting a lot of different schools, I've noticed the inconsistencies of some dress attire on some students, and I was wondering if we could possibly revisit that in one of your meetings, in your cabinet meeting. Maybe y'all could do that?
Yeah, Ms. Sanchez, I think your request is probably rather timely. I know Deidre Garnes and Mike Godrow and a team are working on revising the code of conduct. I think the last time we did a real dress code revision was when I first got Mr. Godrow's job. Some of you remember that? Hang on. 2007.
Make posters.
But you know, we did get the community. We got parents involved and students involved, and it was a little painful at the board meeting, but the process was kind of fun.
Right.
And we came up with something that we could agree to. The request back in 2007 was from a board member who wanted us to look at uniforms for all the schools and how it got started. And when the students realized I was looking at uniforms, they quickly had some very creative thoughts on how to dress. But and that's where it came up, where school advisory councils can make that decision with the school administration. That's why we have some schools that have uniforms and a lot that don't.
Right.
So it's probably time to take a look at it.
Right, and I know when I was in Broward County, we would have student representatives sit on the student conduct and code books, since they were the ones that were up to date in the style and fashion. So maybe we could possibly get some to help us out with that.
If I recall, the media was actually very helpful when we did that. They had our posters of you can wear this and not wear this, and it's been a long time, so it's time to revisit it.
All right, I'll be real quick with mine. First of all, the 21st Annual Arts Alive is right around the corner. And on October 11th and October 12th at Winter Springs High School from 2:30 in the afternoon until 8 p.m., they'll have auditions, and that's for any employee or student in Seminole County. So the applications are due by September 29th, and you can go to the SeminoleFoundation.org website to get the information. They have them at the schools as well. And of course, this helps our arts programs tremendously. We are still looking for monetary business donations or any other donations that you can possibly give, but we have so many talented employees and students, so we would love to make sure that you all participate in that. And then, of course, it's November 11th, but from what I understand, it's already pretty close to being sold out. So look for that. A lot of us have had an opportunity to go to a lot of schools. I'm not even going to name them because we have seen so many amazing things going on. And I just want to say that on a comment that was addressed earlier, we are seeing blended learning and student-centered activities and students interacting with each other and the teachers facilitating. And it's not just about a textbook, but it's about working together and making the students learn with each other. And as a classroom teacher for so many years, we do cursive handwriting, and the kids are still engaged in that. Now, it was out for a little while, but it is back in our benchmarks. So that is something that is still there. And they have an opportunity to take the books home if they choose to. All they have to do is ask. Winter Springs had their first annual Ruse Rodeo. Candy Turner from PTA from Lair came over. Oh my gosh, we all went at different times, and it was amazing. The crossing guard was there, to the EMTs, paramedics, and so many PTA members, so many of the staff was there. It was amazing. I was really impressed with everything that they were doing there. They were fixing the bikes. They were adjusting helmets to make sure that the helmets were properly on. Students that never knew how to ride a two-wheel and training wheels were coming off. It was just such a really neat experience to see how they all came together to do this. And I think it was such a great idea. Maybe should spread out everywhere because it was awesome. And I had an opportunity to talk to the new UCF interns that are already in the classrooms here. That was a couple weeks ago, and we even saw some today. And they're excited, and they're in full gear right now, ready to go. And then we had the chance to do legislative donor appreciation at Millwee with the Engineering Magnet Program. And actually, a lot of the engineers, the students are looking for internships. So if anybody has any engineering firms that they know that need their 10 hours of internships, I know my husband's firm, Volkert, is going to be taking in some of the interns that need that from the Lyman High School and for Millwee, that they can contact any of us to, get that going, or the school, and they have that contact information. And I was able to see the solar eclipse with a bunch of students at Rock Lake Middle School, and we had a great time doing that. I will have my CalNo, which is our local government leaders, government officials meeting tomorrow night, and then we're having that at the Central Florida Zoo, and that's at 6 p.m. And that's open to the public, so if anybody wants to join us, it's great to know a little bit about all the cities and everything that's going on in all the cities in our county. And don't forget the Tools for Schools drive is still continuing, and it's over at September 29th, so we still need a lot of school supplies. And I'll leave everything else up to you because there's so many more things that we've all been doing. Thank you.
I'm going to give my update at the next meeting, but I just have one comment after Ms. Sanchez talked about visiting some of the classrooms. We're starting to hear the same things that we say from high school seniors who are earning Bright Futures hours. They've been helping a lot in the summer, going into the classrooms and helping set up things, and they cannot get over the opportunities that the younger students have that they never had because of all the technology and all the science, and it's awesome.
I'll try to make it short, but I do have some committee updates. I do believe you should have all received an email from me today regarding our CEO at the Central Florida Zoo has resigned, so our chairman of the board will actively advertise for a new position there and look forward to even more partnerships with the zoo. But from the educational standpoint, I couldn't be more proud of our team working collaboratively with Stephanie at the zoo, in that not only are we experiencing the zoo in every elementary school, this is the first year ever that every single middle school will participate too collaboratively, either on the school campus or at the zoo itself. They've had the partnership going on for years, of course, with Seminole High School Health Academy for any of those wanting a veterinarian track, but I think our partnership is continuing to flourish because we do know Seminole County loves education, so I'm glad to have them as a partner. Speaking of another great partner, the Orlando Science Center, the board I sit on as well, as you know, they hosted summer camps at Caroline Elementary School this summer, which was very successful. They want to look forward to partnering with us with that in the future. They also donated Eclipse glasses to many of our schools, and we actually finished our fiscal year off strong ahead of budget for the first time in many, many years. Things will be growing there as well, and I know this past weekend they had free teacher workshops for any of our science teachers, and we had many teachers partake in that. Came back, the comments that I received, that they said it was well worth their time even on the weekends, so I'm excited about bringing more STEM and STEAM into our classrooms. Dr. Griffin and I and many team members, based on my role as representing this board on our Health and Wellness Committee, went to Nemours. And I'm really excited. Hopefully, in the near future, we're going to be able to give some more benefits to our team members here at Seminole County Public Schools because they really want to partner with us, and it's kind of exciting. They've always had a great partnership with Seminole High, again, with the Health Academy. but now they're looking at more telemedicine options that will be great for our students and our teachers and our staff members as a whole. And then to keep in the back of your mind, I sit on the American Cancer Society board, and coming October is our Making Strides Against Breast Cancer downtown Orlando. If anybody would like to participate in that walk or run, feel free to sign yourself up at their website. They'd love to have you. And believe it or not, I went to an annual fundraiser for Give a Kid a Coat Foundation, probably because I was hoping it would get cooler if I was at least thinking about it. But this was a brain trust of one individual woman who saw a child walking to school one day in Seminole County without a coat. And so every single year this organization raises funds and they bring new coats to many of our schools here. So if anybody wanted to go to her website to make donations of either cash or new coats, it would be very much appreciated. She works tirelessly for all of our students in need. And I know it's hard for us in Florida to think that some children need a coat, but I'm hoping pretty soon it's going to get cool enough for a coat. And also, Chairman Lockhart and I participated at the Harvest Time International meeting recently with our homelessness task force in Seminole County, and I'm very hopeful that we're going to be meeting the needs of more and more families. Just this past weekend, Habitat for Humanity did a ribbon cutting for 10 new residents in the city of Longwood, and all of those families had children, so I'm sure our schools will be growing, so I thank you for that.
The only thing that I really need to be sure and share with you all is that Joe Rinaldi and I went out to Lake Brantley to meet with about 50 faculty, staff, parents, and students to talk about the upcoming plans for Building 5, 3, 4, and 5, right? Listened a lot. The purpose of the meeting was really to go and hear what their concerns are. We kind of ahead of the game, I think, probably by a couple of months based on the way that the timeline usually works. But this community was particularly concerned that various needs be met. So Mr. Rinaldi did an excellent job of taking copious notes, very detailed notes. We were there for about 2 hours. There are some things that are going on there that I said, really, you can actually see through the ceiling? That I was unaware of. I think most of us were unaware that you could actually see through the ceiling in the auditorium at times. So that was a little concerning. We both had a couple of moments. So for whatever reason, I don't think we were as aware of some of the concerns there. So I'll ask Mr. Rinaldi to forward to you all his notes. I think that'll be very helpful. And then there will be some opportunities to perhaps do some roofing that wasn't a part of the original plan for the auditorium building, or that it was going to be done at a later time. It's just there's a lot of moving parts and pieces out there. I think there's also, and we had a very candid, good conversation with the community and asked that if they hear something that sounds like it wouldn't be right, to call either Mr. Rinaldi or Dr. Daniels first, because that game of telephone, once those rumors start getting passed along, it's really hard to put that toothpaste back in the tube. And so I think there were some misperceptions that we were able to kind of clear up. And so we've agreed that we will be accessible and accountable and transparent on our end, and we've asked for the same from them as well. So I think we'll have good opportunities moving forward with that group. Is there anything else that you all want to talk about? Anything for them? All right. Please tell Dr. Calderon happy birthday for us. It's Joe's birthday tonight. And we'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting at 6:45.